Hi GRI 201 and hi Jody. This is my personal reflection video. I'm gonna get right to it. So, a little bit of background. I grew up in Winnemucca, Nevada. It's a really small, really yeehaw country place. It's predominantly white. If you are looking for an example of white space, Winnemucca is truly the epitome of white space. I do not even know if Winnemucca's ever even seen the other side of the color line. Um, there's about 12,000 people, and I was born and raised there. So growing up there, I never really had to think about my identity like that. I've never really had to assess what my whiteness meant, just because everyone around me was white. I was obviously aware of racism and aware that I was white, but I just never, to the degree that I know now, I did not know what my whiteness meant. Um, and this continued. I was ignorant, I guess is a good word. I was probably ignorant for the first 15 years of my life, and I remember the day that changed. My aha moment in my white identity development was the day Michael Brown died. And I remember this so strongly still to this day because I remember thinking that everyone's response, I just thought everyone would know that it was murder. I thought everyone's response would be to be completely outraged, like the justice system, at like the police officer who committed the murder. I just assumed that that's how everyone would react. And I remember going to school with all my redneck classmates, and I remember getting on Facebook and being like completely shocked at like the amount of like Blue Lives Matter and it was his fault. What are we supposed to do? Not punish criminals posts and people talking about things as such. And that was really the first moment in my life that I really realized I was white. I realized nothing like that would ever happen to me. I realized my parents would never have to deal with me being murdered by a cop and not getting justice. I realized that was the day I realized I am the race of the oppressor. I am on the side of the oppressor, basically. And I can be an ally, all I desire, but I still had to recognize that day that me being white meant something different. Like it greatly influenced my life, and it changed everything. I would not be living the same life, I'm sure. And I mean, high school kind of followed suit. People would openly use racial slurs and post terrible things, and I'd get called a libtard a lot or lover of said racial slurs, and it was just really awful and a really toxic environment. But it was all I knew. I just kind of assumed that that's how, like, I knew it wasn't right, but I knew, just to me, it's like, oh, okay, well, this is how white people are out here acting, are out here like thinking and whatnot. And so I finished high school, I moved to Reno, and I know all of you say Reno's not diverse, but you have to understand, for me, going from this white space dominated town to Reno is really diverse for me. And I would say my second and definitely more profound aha moment happened in GRI 201. And it happened because all of you guys, my peers, shared stories, shared your opinions, and I seriously can't thank you enough for that. My identity, the way I think about my identity, is so drastically different than the way I thought about it from even just the beginning of the semester. And I really have you guys to thank, honestly. Now, when I think about my identity, I think about it in terms, basically in binaries. I realized that by being born white, I was given a silver spoon. I realized that I will never face oppression or racism. I know no one's ever gonna walk up to me on the street and be like, oh, hey, whitey, screw you. Like, nothing like that's ever going to happen to me. And I think it took this class to recognize my whiteness and recognize that I will never experience the low points when I think about my identity that my peers of color said that they have and will continue to do. More so now, my identity is basically that I'm aware of what it means to be white. I know like what opportunities are being presented to me, and I know that I have more of a platform to talk about these things. and I hope I can use that platform in a just way. But I hope to never be ignorant again. I hope to never think the way I did in Winnemucca. I hope to never think that racism and that kind of stuff is what the majority of white people like contribute to. I really hope that my identity can keep evolving from this point out. I hope I can continue to hear stories from my peers and from people who have led different lives than I in a way to better understand my identity, because I mean, obviously I'm not a master of my own identity at this point. I still have a lot to learn and a lot to think about, but when I think of my own identity compared to what it used to be, I think I've come a long way in understanding myself and in understanding the circumstances of my life. GRI 201 was definitely spurred that realization. I wouldn't have it without GRI 201. So thank you all. Thank you, Jody. This is the best class I've taken at UNR. I've never had another class completely change the way I think in the way that this class has.